So many of you will be able to sit on the floor for this, even if you've been sitting up for your seated pose of Sukhasana. In this forward bending action, I'm going to show to a chair, to bricks and to the wall, because you will almost certainly have something in the house that you can utilise to do this pose too. So, if we're working to the chair, arms up, stretching up, extending forwards, lifting. If you're working to bricks, arms up, extending forwards. If we're working to a wall, arms up, lift up, extending forwards. So you can see, because you've had the side view, you can see that in all three of those actions, the back is straight. So if you really don't have anything at all, yes, you can take your hands to the floor, that's not a problem, but keep the back so that it's level, not curving like that. Those of you who need to sit up, absolutely fine. I know some people in the group have got problems in the hips. Absolutely fine. You can get a very good pose doing this either to your bricks, or to your chair, or to your wall. And very good for the hips. So we'll change across the legs now to whichever way is not your natural way of crossing the legs. So it'll be the other way to the one that you have just done when you were sitting in the preparation action. So let the thighs release. We want to feel the back of the thighs moving towards the floor. Roll your shoulders back and down, lift your chest. Inhale and stretch the arms up by the ears. Now you might not be able to see me if you're going to a wall, so that's fine, I will give you instructions. Here we hinge at the hips. Keep the ears between the arms until you've reached your maximum forward action, then take the hands down, either to the wall, to the seat of the chair, to the back of the chair, or to your bricks. We're attempting here to feel a little bit of action in the outer hip region. Anybody who has knee discomfort, just come up for a moment, have a quick look at the screen. If you've got knee discomfort, move your feet forwards and move the feet out so that they come more in line with the outer edge of the mat. Maybe that you can't come forwards quite so much with that action, but that should take away any knee discomfort. Don't work in this pose with knee discomfort. Alright, releasing and changing across the legs. So again, crossing the legs at the shins, making sure that you're on the front of the sitting bones, lift up, extend the arms up by the ears, inhale, and on an exhalation, hinge forwards at the hips. So for those of us with stiffness in those outer hip regions, you can really feel this action. The femur head rotates in the socket. So we don't want to overdo this because you will end up straining the muscles and the ligaments around the hips if you try and overdo. You have to go very slowly with the hips and gradually unravel them. They generally take a long time to tighten up, and they take a reasonably long time to unravel, not as long as it takes to tighten. So if you are working with your legs crossed and there's discomfort in the knees, remember, bring the feet forwards and take the feet to the outer edges of the mat. Alright, so we're going to come up with the arms by the ears, stretch the arms up, inhale, and releasing down out of the action. Good, well done. Now normally when we do Trikonasana, just watch for a moment and stand in your Tadasana while you're watching. We line up the heel with the instep. So you're going to start out with your feet in the middle of the mat, so equidistant front to back. And then you're going to walk your right foot forwards so that The inner edge of that right foot lines up with the front edge of the mat. Then we're going to turn the trunk whilst keeping that rotated. Stretch the arms out and take ourselves into a Trikonasana action at a slight angle. So we'll step the feet apart for this. Stand in your Tadasana, get that sensation, even though you haven't got the brick or the blanket there, get that sensation of that moving back. Then take the feet wide, have the outer edge of the feet in line with the outer edge of the mat to start with, and now turn the whole of your right leg and foot out and pivot it towards the front of your mat, so that now the inner edge of your foot lines up with the front edge of the mat. The back foot turns in slightly. Get this rotation here on the front leg, really turn it, and now stretch your arms out in line with your shoulders, and now turn your arms so that they're in line with your legs. Stretch into your fingertips, lift through this frontal leg, don't drop into it, but extend and lengthen, take the hand down, top arm up, and stretch into those top arm fingertips. Press firmly into the outer edge of your back foot. See if you can get that awareness of the inner thigh on your back leg that you had when you were in Tadasana and you had that brick, foam pad, towel on that inner thigh region. So use that action, lift up, turn the feet to face forwards, bring that front foot back slightly. So we're going to now make sure that the heels are lined up evenly, that you're more or less in the centre of your mat, that is from front to back. Turn your back foot in a little, turn the whole of the front leg, that's now the left leg, out and the foot, and wriggle that foot towards the front edge of your mat. Now this will rotate your frontal thigh muscle. It's very good for opening out in the hips and getting this rotational action in the top of the thigh bone. Turn your arms so that they line up with your legs. Press into the outer edge of that back foot. Feel that blanket, feel that brick on that inner thigh. Keep that lifting you up as you extend into your Trikonasana action at an angle. Breathe. Take the chest back. Move the navel back towards the spine. So it can be a bit unbalancing when you're working at these angled poses, when you have your feet at an angle like this. So if that's the case, have a chair or something close by so you can grab hold of it if you need to. Alright, use your back leg to lift you. Turn the feet to face forwards. Bring the feet so that they're even, and then step the feet back to Tadasana. Roll the shoulders back and down, extend down into the fingertips, extend up with the crown of the head, and let that tailbone be long and heavy, weighted. Breathe. Okay, so just stand in your Tadasana while I'm demonstrating Parsvakonasana. So we're going to do the same action in Utthita Parsvakonasana, where we're taking the front foot here. Arms will come out, will bend. We're only taking the arm down onto the thigh, and then the top arm comes up and over if you're able to do that. Okay, so we'll do that together. So from here, step the feet wide, slightly wider stride than your Trikonasana. Make sure that at this stage your feet are level, same distance away from the back of the mat. Put your hands onto your hips, turn your left foot in slightly, turn the whole of the right leg and foot out, and wriggle the right foot towards the front edge of that mat. So this will ensure that you have that rotational action in the front leg. Stretch the arms out, line your arms up with your legs, bend your front leg, and now take your right arm, the lower arm, down onto the thigh. Use that arm to push the knee back. As you push the knee back, rotate the ribs. Take your top arm up. If there's any shoulder problems, you can keep the arm back or keep it up. Otherwise, rotate it in the socket and take it over the ear. Now again, think about that brick into the inner thigh of your back leg. Lift that inner thigh right at the very top into the thigh bone. Breathe. Use this front arm to move the knee back. Rotate your ribs. And then use that inner thigh to lift up. Turn the feet. Bring them back so that they're still wide. We're going to go straight to the other side. So right foot turns in, left leg and foot turn out, and you wriggle that forwards. So don't have this back foot too far back towards the back edge of the mat, because it is quite an extreme action, particularly for those with stiff hips. So turn the arms, and then bend your front leg. So your arms are in line with your legs rather than in line with your mat like that. So they're here. And then this arm comes down. Descend this sitting bone. If your knee overshoots your ankle, wriggle that front foot more towards the left side of your mat. This area has to lift and rotate. This pushes back. With this left arm, you push the left knee back. With this inner thigh, you lift and move that thigh bone back. Roll your top shoulder up and back. If you're able to turn your arm, you turn your arm. If not, then you keep your arm upright. If you've got your arm over your ear, your arm is straight. You are not bending it at the elbow. If you can't do it without bending at the elbow, take the arm further up. Breathe. And again, use that back leg. Lift yourself up. Turn the feet. Heel toe in and step the legs back into Tadasana. Re-establish your Tadasana. Interlock the fingers behind the body. So we're weighting down with the arms, lifting with the chest, and breathe. Change the interlock of the fingers. Pull down, and as you pull down, don't allow the ribs to pop forwards. Just keep the ribs back, the navel moving back towards your spine, the shoulders relaxing away from the ears. Now release your hands, but don't let them pop out to the sides. So release them and stretch them down. From here we're going to come for Prasarita Padottanasana. Those of you who need to put your hands onto something, that's not a problem. If you've got foam pads, if you've got bricks, you can put your hands onto those. If not, then take your hands onto the seat of a chair. I'm going to show with the hands to the floor, but we will work from there. So lift up, hinge forwards. Remember that action on your Sukhasana, forward bend. We're only hinging at the hips. We're not using the spine to get the action. So if your hands are onto the floor with your back flat, that's fine. If not, then you take your hands onto the seat of the chair or to bricks. Come up and then heel toe the feet together, and we're coming into Tadasana again. Okay, so let's go. If you have knee, hip or back problems, you step your feet apart. Otherwise you jump, toes facing forwards, outer edges pressing down into the floor, fronts of the legs lifting. So yes, the legs are wide, but you still think about that brick in those inner thighs. So get those inner thighs working. Imagine there's two tracks running all the way through your body. So that's lifting up. And those tracks are like railway tracks. They're not going to bend as you come forwards. It will hinge here at this point, but none of the rest of the track is going to bend. So hinge. And take your hands down to whatever supports you need to take your hands down to. Make sure that your toes are still facing directly forwards. Now, active in the inner thighs. Imagine you've got that brick between your inner thighs. Press the inner thigh to the thigh bone. Press the thigh bone to the outer thigh region. Lift your sitting bones. Lift your navel towards your spine. Those of you with the hands to the floor, if you can flatten your hands, flatten your hands. Press your hands into the floor or into your support and lift your sitting bones some more. For those who are able, come up onto the toes. Lift your heels. Now, place the heels down by lengthening the soles of the feet, but extend your breastbone forwards. Draw your shoulder blades down towards your back waist. Now, when we come out of this pose, if you're reasonably new to yoga, you can pivot your feet in at this stage and then come up. So heel toe your feet in. Those who've got a little more experience, imagine that bricks between your inner thighs. Press the inner thighs to the thigh bone. Release the hands from the floor. Lift up and now pivot the feet in. And step or jump back into the centre and stand in Tadasana. Let the breath flow, fine inhalation, fine exhalation. So just stand in Tadasana and watch while I just show what we're going to do. You're going to take your buttocks back to the wall. Your feet are quite wide. They're wider than hip width, not as wide as Prasarita, Padottanasana. So we're going to hinge forwards and lift the buttocks up, taking the hands onto the shins. They may be on your ankles, they may be on your shins. So then we're going to place the left hand where the right hand was. The right hand comes onto the sacrum and we turn. Alright, so let's do that together. Now, when you lean back to the wall, you have to make sure you're quite a distance away from the wall. So a foot to 18 inches, so that's 30 to 45 centimetres away from the wall. Find yourself something, make sure that your feet are on the mat because otherwise they'll slip away from you, because now your legs are leaning back. So if you need to stop the video, find yourself a door or something. If it's a door, do make sure nobody's going to come in and knock you off. Now when you lean back, make sure that your middle toe is pointing directly forwards and that your feet are slightly wider than your pelvis. You can see here that I've got my feet at this kind of width. Now turn the toes in a little, just a little. Pressing down into the outer foot bones. Now from here, put your hands onto your door or onto your wall. This is not a very slippery wall, so I'm lifting myself away from the wall so that I can lift the sitting bones up and then replace the buttocks to the wall and place your hands onto your shins, onto your ankles. Just be there for a moment, breathe. Now you're going to place your left hand where your right hand is and put your right hand onto the big bone at the base of the spine, your sacrum. Stop. Now lengthen the crown of the head away from the wall that you're leaning to. So get that length in the front of the body and now roll your right shoulder up. Breathe. Release. Hands onto the shins, extend forwards. Now place your right hand where your left hand is, place your left hand onto your sacrum, lengthen the crown of the head away from the wall that you're working to and roll that left shoulder up and back. Breathe. Releasing and holding onto the shins and then coming up. Good. Sit back on your heels, lift up with your chest, roll your shoulders back and down, extend forwards, release the head down. Adho, Mukha, Virasana. So if this is uncomfortable, you can put a blanket, foam pad, whatever you have to hand, cushions, between your bottoms and your heels. And you can do that if your bottom doesn't touch your heels or if it lifts away when you come into the pose. If your head doesn't reach the floor, if you have any problems with your breath in this pose, then lift the height of the head up by any amount. You can always put your hands to the seat of the chair if this is really compromising on your diaphragm. Okay, and coming up.